London and Sydney-listed Aura Energy came to the London market last September on the promise of early uranium production at its project in Mauritania. It's also got another development a little further on behind in terms of development in Sweden. Both projects are 100% owned by the company. Aura also has gold exploration underway. Peter Reeve is Executive Chairman and Chief Executive, and he joins us now with an update. I say an update because you came to explain a little bit more about the project and the uranium price a little earlier on this year.
Yes.
This is a good opportunity now to talk a little bit more about the way in which you've been progressing, because I know there's been a lot of progress, hasn't there, in Mauritania this year. Bring us up to date.
Okay, so when we were here last time, clearly getting the funds to step in really to the Tiris feasibility study, and when we went back home and left London, we really turned on the taps as far as activity. And the feasibility study's been progressing really well. The main point we had to get to in the last sort of 6 to 8 months was to get the mining lease application for Tiris submitted by the 28th of April. We did that. What that entailed was to have an environmental and social impact assessment completed, flora and fauna studies, community reviews, community engagement. We did all that. We in fact completed a 1,000-page environmental and social impact assessment. Pretty proud of it. Government, I think, is impressed with what they've seen and how professional we've been for a small company going about what we do. Our backgrounds are all from big companies, so we have done these things before, and it's put us in a really good stead. So I've now just in the last 4 to 5 weeks employed an engineer internally. We're going through and restating all the package costs, the prices, the schedules. We're getting everything in order. It's going very, very well. We aren't getting any surprises. We still sit here being this, I think, unique project in the uranium space where we're small capital, low cash costs, and if everything works out well, and in the perfect world that doesn't happen, but if the world runs the way we want to see it, we could turn this on as the uranium price is starting to recover. And I think that's the sweet point we're trying to get to.
Yeah, okay, so DFS at the end of this year, then you've got, of course, the mine construction, assuming everything goes well. How much of an issue is that going to be? And how far through 2018 or into 2019 does it take you?
Yeah, look, the beauty about the Tiris project is, and we can't get too complicated and technical, we have this very good beneficiation stage where we can upgrade the ore value by 500%. What that simply means is we reject about 80% of the material very, very early in the process, which means the rest of the process and the process plant is very small. What we're going to be doing is putting together a modular plant, probably in 3 packages, at the front end, in the middle, the leaching, and at the back end, the packaging and precipitation of the uranium. That means that everything can be built off-site in ships containers and shipped to site, and essentially like a Lego set bolted together. So we are talking to people who are building these things every day of the week, and they have got those essentially as turnkey projects. So we are just organising that, but I think I can't see it being a problem once we get the final feasibility study completed, we get financing in place, and construction can be quite simple. But in terms of timing, I would say we're drifting a little bit. Projects do. We're probably going to finish the study early in 2018, construction starting, it'll be a year beyond that. So it's more likely to be closer to something into 2019 or just about, but still largely in schedule.
You mentioned financing. We did touch on this last time we spoke, and I know it's a little bit far away for you even to begin to think about this. Do you have any more of an idea as to how that might be put in place, or again, are we too early really to look at that?
We're not too early for it to keep me awake at night and for me to keep thinking about it on an ongoing basis and starting to dream up ideas. I think the mistake that resource companies have made in the past is to do a financing and go down Fleet Street or wherever your street here is to go and get funds. In Melbourne, it's Collins Street, and to ask banks for the money. Banks are really very, they want something that is absolutely dotted and the T's crossed in every way, shape or form. We're in Mauritania, we're uranium, we're a small company, we've got to be realistic. I think resource companies should be looking much more towards product and financing around their product. So for us to do something around the forward sale, the pre-sale, metal streaming type deals, they're the sort of things we're trying to explore and look at. Off-take agreements which throw cash up, which we can use. That's the sort of thing I think is going to drive this. And what the beauty of that is, it doesn't dilute the shareholders.
Yeah, okay. And as a background to this, you've got Sweden, of course, which I think is called the Hagen project, isn't it? That's
exactly.
Right, yeah. Which is also going on nicely, but it is quite a bit far behind, isn't it? Further behind.
Yeah, look, there's been a little development in the Hagen project in the sense that, and these things happen in small companies, cobalt took off, and I said to Neil, my principal geologist, Neil, we've got some cobalt in the Mauritanian gold and base metal area, don't we? And we put a release out about, I think, 2 or 3 metres, or maybe 6 or 8 metres, in fact, that was drilled at about 5,800 ppm cobalt. Then it made me look to the Hagen project to see how much cobalt we had there. We have a lot of cobalt in that project, 50,000 tonnes. And I think we're recasting the Hagen project not as a uranium project with a base metal credit, but as a polymetallic with uranium and base metals. So we are doing some work on that as well. And yeah, but as you say, slowly, that's a 5 to 10 year development project, but it's huge. It's got a large NPV, an NPV that most investors probably wouldn't believe if I told them, but it is very large. It's still, it's large capital, but it's not extreme compared to some of the other projects that have been built. That's $500 or $600 million of capital. We're not in the place to do that now. We will be if Tyrrus starts kicking out cash and it performs as we want.
Yeah, okay. I've got to talk about your gold business as well, because the project's underway there. I think this is, again, this is a sort of a bit of a sideshow compared to Tyrrus, isn't it, really, which is your flagship project. Yeah. But where are you with the gold project, which is in Mauritania? Yeah,
so the gold tenements, we are hoping, we've had them under application, and we really don't want to start a lot of work until we get them under full, they're granted to us. So we expect that to happen very shortly. We've got the work plan in place and ready to go. We've got the funds to go and do the drilling. We'll do some ground IP. We'll do some drilling around some of the old targets. The exciting thing about the gold is that all gold out of Canada has been getting spectacular results. Just north of one of our tenements, they have, our principal geo went out to site and mapped where their structures go. Their structures come straight through our tenement. Some of their grades have been spectacular, 30 and 40 grams per tonne. I think recently they did a few metres at 70 and 80 grams a tonne. And their structures are just north of ours. They come through our tenement. That's one. You know, the Tasiast gold mine, 20 million ounces, is 30 or 40 kilometres north of us. Greenstone belt, absolutely virgin, untouched. As I said, as I have said, if that were in Kalgoorlie, which is a greenstone belt as well, you would have 200 companies on the piece of ground that we have. So we're really excited. We bought it for $100,000. It's had $3 million spent on it. It's still only a scratch on the surface. I think we've got one RC drill hole per 20 square kilometres. So there's essentially no work has been done, but enough to get us excited. So and our principal geo has found 20 million ounces of gold in Australia. So he's a guy who knows. Okay, your latest presentation you got, which I know you can find on your website, details more about gold, but it is, as I say, a bit of a background asset, I know, for you. Let's take a look at the share price, because this is the London-listed share price. Well, you know, actually, you're a chief executive. You know, this is one of the things. Actually, you have to face shareholders with this and explain what's going on, because it came to the London market September last year, and you raised some money, you were using the money, and it's all going very well. And in fact, if anything, the company's better off now in terms of visibility, but here we have the share price now at 1.3 pence. Explain what's going on, because you're a company that has yet to produce anything, but we know it is within sight, subject to certain qualifications. What do you say to investors at 1.3 pence? Yeah, look, we were sitting there probably around about now I think often in Aussie dollar terms, we were sitting there around about the 2p level quite comfortably. We did have that increase up to around about 3p, which was our peak. And, you know, there was a bit of momentum. I think, look, a few things. There was momentum in the uranium market then. There was a bit of momentum in resource stocks as well. Definitely the steam came out of uranium. The spot price started to run. The spot price of uranium, which I will say in an interview like this, I think it's an irrelevance, and it's a played market. The long-term price has been quite steady at 35-ish pounds, $35 per pound. The spot price did come off a little bit, and it made us come off that peak. And look, it did start to fall. I think there was probably, in the last 4 weeks, there's been a lot of tax selling. And a fund out of New York, who's a major shareholder of ours, rang me to say, Peter, I hope you're doing okay, because we've never seen as brutal a June as what we're seeing now on tax selling. Because it's very clear over broad part of it. I think also there's probably been an expectation we could get the gold going a little sooner than we did, and that just by internal processes in Mauritania took a little longer. The Mauritanian government has been fantastic to work with. I think they've got a very, very professional mines department there, so it's not it's not a problem with where they are, but it just took longer in that process. And there was some promise in the gold, probably in that spike up to say 3p. But I'm really confident, of it holding this current level where it's been. And the price in Australia has been reasonably steady, post the end of June 30. So results on the gold and more work coming out on the uranium, I think, will drive it.
So what's priced in at these share price levels, do you think? What is it that investors are looking at? Is it just the Mauritanian uranium?
Oh, yeah, look, I would say there's no doubt about it. Being realistic, very few people price in anything for the Hagen project. Yeah. And that's up to them, that's fine. I don't agree with it, but I'm a realist as well. I think people are only pricing in at the moment a company with a resource in a potential commodity that might go in the next 2 years. They're not pricing in a company like Aura, which is one that has a great deal of work done on the definitive feasibility study already. We could be in production in 12 months, and we could be hitting production at the same time as uranium price peaks. So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect for where we are internally with the great work that our team has done, and where they see us. And look, and I understand that occurs. It's my job to get that story out a little more and make sure people are clear about what we're doing.
Yeah, there's a few coulds in there. Let's get you back in 6 months' time to see whether or not you can firm those up. But Great. Peter, in the meantime, thanks indeed for joining us. Peter Reeve is the CEO and Executive Chairman of Aura Energy.